My name is Rick Rangaitis. I'm the CEO of the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce. I guess I should start too, making sure everybody can hear me okay. Okay, great. So exciting day in San Diego County. You know, and I want to commend, you know, before I turn over to our speakers, you know, just the leadership that we have in San Marcos and North County in our district. We shouldn't take for granted. It's been, you know, Supervisor Desmond's office and Supervisor Desmond and the city and the mayor and, you know, state senator and everybody has been fighting so hard to get our businesses open and get our businesses open in a, with regards to the guidelines put forth for health and safety. I mean, that's never been out of the question. We want to make sure everybody's stays safe, but there's ways to do it and still be able to get our businesses open. I also want to thank, there's many of you that are on this call today too, that joined the campaign with letters to the governor to help push and give some more control to the county, and it helped. It made a huge difference. So everybody here, you're part of this as well. So I just want to I want to thank you for taking some time today. The timing's perfect. That's what I was just joking with Tess and with Kristal too. The timing couldn't be more perfect to talk about. Now that we have some abilities to reopen, how do we do it? How are you as business owners able to maximize those opportunities? Can you open? And there's still, and it's just been, it's been a very confusing period in our lives. And I appreciate Kristal and Tess for coming on to join us today to help answer some of your questions. So what we're going to do is, you know, it may be best to put it in speaker view. I've got everybody muted right now, and then put your questions in the queue, and then if I can find you, I will unmute you and you can ask the questions after our speakers are done, and if not, I'll ask the questions myself. So so our speakers today, from Supervisor Desmond's office, Director of Community Relations, Kristal Jabara, and also from the City of San Marcos, Economic Development Director, Tess Sangster. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you first, Kristal, and kind of give us an update of all that's been happening in the last 24 hours.
Sorry about that. I was unmuting. Good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of Supervisor Desmond, we thank you for including us in your webinar today, especially to Rick and the Chamber. They have done an exceptional job supporting the businesses in their community. And I don't think we could have done the amount of work that we have done without the support of our chambers, without our cities supporting us, our EDC directors especially. I think I speak to Tess and Rick either via email, text, or telephone, at least once a day, it feels like. So we appreciate the amount of support, just unbelievable support that your city has done, your city leaders, and your chamber representing businesses. So with that, we've had some exciting news. We had a Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday where the Board of Supervisors unanimously sent to the governor a request to let us move into phase 2 opening. So there was that first part of it, and then the second part of it was an accelerated plan which would open even more businesses. So those were both voted on. The first one was unanimous. The second one was a 4-to-1 vote by the supervisors. So with that evening, that request was sent to the governor Tuesday evening, probably arrived there very late in the evening, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Last night around the same time, around 9 o'clock, we received word back from the governor allowing us to move into that phase 2. Which includes dine-in restaurants following safety protocols. And I'm going to post the link to the county website that you can quickly then click on the buttons for restaurant dine-in, and then also retail in-store shopping. Both of those safety protocols can be filled out. So I'm going to post that right now so it's up there so anyone can grab it that may want it. And then also that included swap meets. So for all of you waiting to open your swap meets, now is the time you can do that. But really more exciting for us was the dine-in and the in-store shopping protocols that we can now move into. We are waiting to hear back from that second round of openings, which would include hair salons at a minimum capacity, all sorts of personal services by appointment only. I'm going to look and see what else is on that list. HOA, apartment, pools would be opened back up at a limited capacity, and some religious services, along with some more parks and beaches, would be opened up. So essentially, we've been on hyperdrive since about 9 o'clock last night, getting the messages out to businesses. Supervisor was at one of your San Marcos's businesses today. He was at Hobby Lobby. They reopened this morning. They are following all the safety protocols. They've been a great example of a business that, even though they are a large scale business, that has been chomping at the bit to reopen, to be there for their community and get their employees back to work. So he was excited to go visit them today. Some of the questions that are coming up that I think a lot of you probably will have is, how do I reopen? What are the guidelines for my reopening? How do I communicate to my customers that we are open and what that looks like for them? And how do I reopen keeping my employees safe and my customers safe? So essentially, if you go on the website, you fill out the safe reopening plans for your industry sector. So whether it's dine-in or it's retail, and then we also have a more generic safe. So if you own a business, you can do a safe reopening plan. Fill it out, follow all the guidelines that are on there. It does not need to be submitted to anyone, but it does need to be posted at all your public entrances, needs to be provided to a customer if they ask for a copy of it. And the biggest thing that we're asking people, because we have people that call in and complain that maybe someone's not following it, or we have business owners that are concerned, what's going to happen if there's a complaint. We are asking customers and employees, if they have a concern, to please reach out to management first to resolve the issue. If an issue is not resolved and there's still a concern, then reach out to either your city officials, county officials, and I'll put my email in this as well. You could reach out to the chamber for support. If you feel like it warrants it, you could call your sheriff's non-emergency number. They would be able to provide assistance. But we are, which is unusual for government, we are trying to enter into this very abnormal spot in time where we are saying, these are the guidelines we want you to follow. We're not going to make you get a permit or have a plan approved. We just want you to follow it, keep your employees safe, keep your customers safe. Let's slowly reopen our economy. And everyone follow the spirit and intent of the guidelines that are being handed down, and so we can quickly start moving into these other phases. So that's kind of where we are right now. We also, and I'm going to post this, we have an email address through the County of San Diego that is specific for business questions related to COVID-19. It's a place where you can send a quick question if you have a very individual question and need an answer. You can email this, you'll get a reply back, but you can also contact our office. I'm going to put both of my email and that email address. But I can tell you the Chamber of Commerce has been a huge resource for all things related to COVID-19, whether it's where do I go for a loan, how do I reach out to the county, what are my guidelines, how do I reach my federally elected official, my state elected official. They have been a huge resource, and everything can typically be found on their website. So with that, I don't know if we want to roll into Tess's and then wait for questions, or I do see one question in there if you want me to answer that.
Well,
Great,
you know what, actually, let's go ahead and go to Tess, and then,
okay.
and then we'll come back for all the Q&A. So thanks, Kristal. So with that, I'll throw it over to Tess. I'm trying to, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Tess Sangster, Economic Development Director for the City of San Marcos. And thanks so much, Kristal. It was a really great update. Really appreciate all the hard work the county is putting in, just tireless work, and the chamber. So thank you so much for having us on today. So the city has been working really hard to try to help businesses get back safely. And we have a few things that relate directly to San Marcos that I wanted to go over. If you hadn't heard, we extended our temporary eviction moratorium to assist residential and commercial tenants impacted by COVID-19 through June 30th. And it doesn't mean that tenants don't owe rent. It just means that rent will be deferred until after June 30th. And then help's also available for property owners and landlords. The governor announced at the end of March that banks and credit unions would provide forbearance on foreclosures and mortgage payments. And then some of the folks on the call might have participated in our loan program that we ended. We rolled that out on March 24th, and we funded 118 loans and over $2.9 million in loans. And the average size of an approved business for a loan was 9 employees. So definitely we're supporting the small businesses in San Marcos. And then the two big things that are we're rolling out next week are the urgency ordinance that provides regulatory relief for our businesses. It'll be going on our council agenda for the 26th, so on Tuesday. And we're looking at allowing businesses basically just more flexibility than what they would be allowed to do under normal circumstances. Obviously restaurants and breweries and others that restaurants can open now, but others that will start to want to reopen or will be able to reopen soon will want larger areas to have their customers dine in or drink in. And so we're allowing, and the ABC is allowing this too, larger areas for folks to do that. And then also extra signage allowance and personal services like instructional fitnesses, potentially in parking lots and public parks. So we're trying to get creative. So if anyone has ideas on ways you want to make your business, how you want to reopen your business, and it wouldn't currently be allowed, but might be a good thing for us to include. So we're trying to get as creative as possible. And then we also are going to be rolling out with the chamber next week a business promise or pledge to reopen safely. A lot of our customers, a lot of our businesses are, and customers, I think, are nervous about, what the response is going to be when people start going out into the world again. And I think, if we had a decal that these businesses have promised to reopen safely, and so what the business will do is promise to follow 10 different rules that we put together and have a toolkit that will make their customers feel more confident as they go and dine or into that business, shop at that business. So those are the things we're working on right now. I'm happy to go into further detail on any of them if anyone has specific questions.
Thanks, Tess. And the chamber is excited about partnering with the Business Promise program. It is important. I mean, we want, we've gotten to a point now that these businesses are able to open, but people, the consumers need to feel safe, and having just that little extra push, I think, is going to be very impactful. So let's go ahead and start taking some questions. I have a question from, I'm going to try, like I said, I think it's better if I can find you. I will unmute you. I got one from Shannon, who I think is from Pump It Up. Shannon, I've unmuted you if you'd like to ask your question.
I just wanted to know when places like Pump It Up, where we host private parties, when we could look to opening up. Do you know what phase we might be in? Because we do parties by reservation. I want to be able to start setting my business up for success.
I think Kristal's going to take that, but she's trying to get off mute.
Okay.
There we go. We have to do a two-part unmute here, a host unmute and myself, I have to unmute. So currently, businesses like yours wanting to operate the way you want to operate, I believe, are still in the category of phase 4. which they being the health officers and the state of California deemed to be a very high risk group. We are putting a strong effort into actively moving those types of businesses out of phase 4 and into a phase 3 with certain conditions, maybe limiting the number of people you have in your space. So if you were having a private party, maybe the number of people that you have. So there could be some social distancing, some sanitary measures between parties. I know it's complicated. If you have a business plan, a safety business plan that you feel like will make a difference, and a lot of businesses have submitted, and I strongly believe that we are where we are today, pushing forward, getting more local control because of people submitting business plans. If you would like to submit that to me, my email's in the chat, or you can get it off to Rick. We will forward that off to our public health officer and include it in our correspondence with the state of California. But currently, activities like that are still in that phase 4 portion.
Okay.
Thanks, Shannon. I think what Kristal said too. I mean, it was so impactful. I think there were so many business plans that came in to the supervisor's office, and that the board of supervisors saw that they saw that the businesses were serious about being health and safety guidelines and really being able to make that pivot to be able to do that. So it made a huge difference. Okay, I have a question from, I don't know who this is. It says SCMYS, but you don't have a mic. I don't think you have a microphone, so I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions. The question, it says, when do you expect phase 3 for hair salons to be approved?
I'll take that one as well. We have sent our request to the governor. It's currently in his possession. It could be today, it could be a no, it could be next week. We truly have no idea. What we have submitted is a request to open in that attestation plan is what they call it. We call it a proposed pilot. It was a 100-page document that was sent up to the governor on Tuesday night. It was quite a work beast. In salons, by appointment only with 25% capacity is what is being requested, that the public health officer has agreed that there can be a safe reopening of that. So that is in that plan. We are hoping, praying, whatever we are doing, that comes very quickly. This week would be nice, but that is where we are.
Thanks, Kristal. No offense to my wife, but she chose the right vocation, so I'm very ready for a real barber, real haircut. Okay, I've got a question. Kathleen Quinn, I'm unmuting you. You are unmuted.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions sort of like mine. My question is, are we going to be able to hang banners without getting an application into the city? And someone else said something about what are the additional signage allowances. So maybe someone, Tess, you could address both of those.
Yeah, so we're going to allow on-site temporary banner signs. We're going to, we just are rolling this out, so we don't have what the process would be. I would like the process to be where we just allow it, and we have specific sizes of banners and A-frame signs and feather signs that you can put out during this temporary time period. I'm still working on that. So I will be back with more on the framework on Tuesday on how that will be unveiled. But you definitely will be allowed to put up banner signs, A-frames, feather signs. I'm not sure if you'll have to do an application or not, but it'll be as easy as we can make it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. And I think that's what we're seeing too. And kudos to the city staff, and everybody's working together to try to help the small businesses and help the businesses get back and be able to do what they can. And these are certainly situation that we never imagined would happen. So appreciate everything. And again, if I didn't mention it earlier, Tess, just just thanks to the city for putting together that business sustainability program. It was, you know, $3 million program. It showed, not only gave everybody, business owners in San Marcos, hope, or not only did they give them cash, but gave them hope. And it was, it shows the commitment that the city has to the business community in San Marcos. Okay, I have a question from, need my glasses, Carol Corfin. Carol, you are unmuted.
Okay, I see that it now says it is recommended that vulnerable employees not come into work. What is the actual stance? It used to say in phase 1 and 2 that vulnerable employees should not come back to work in the vulnerable category. So what is the change in that, if any?
There is no change in that, Carol. We are asking that if anyone is part of that vulnerable population, that at-risk population, for them to stay home as much as possible. If their job is requiring them to come into work and they do not feel safe coming into work, they are not supposed to be required to do so. If an employer is doing that, I would suggest reaching out to the U.S. Department of Labor, a labor attorney. If you are struggling with where to go with that resources, you can reach out to our office, you can reach out to the chamber, we will provide you assistance. But the order is still, if you are part of the vulnerable population, please, please, please stay home and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Got a question from Gwen Snow. Gwen, I'm looking for you. I know part of your question was about the signage, but I think you also had a question regarding youth sports. And forgive me because I'm looking for you and I can't find you. So I guess I'll ask your question. Gwen was just asking about youth sports will be in what phase?
Youth sports in a limited modified fashion are in that phase 3, that attestation phase. We have asked that that the community be allowed to do youth sports in a modified way. So smaller groups, probably in a no touch, little contact type mode. So what we have asked, there's been some inconsistencies, and I think Supervisor Gaspar brought this up at Tuesday's meeting about some groups are 10, some have been allowed to be 12. We have in their therapeutic and peer support groups. So like an AA meeting, we originally had 10 on there. She asked that it be bumped up to 12 to be consistent with some of our other group type gatherings. All the summer camps, youth sports programs, child care activities, all the requirements are going to be that you have to be licensed to do that. So it can't just be Kristal, Jabara and this is my youth sports camp. It has to be a licensed sanctioned group. But we are still waiting to hear back from the governor. We have requested that to be in our next phase. We feel like it's really important, especially with school winding down here. And we feel like it's really important with the physical and mental well-being of our students to be able to get back to some of these activities that they're used to doing.
Okay, thanks, Kristal. And the next couple of questions we have in the chat are the same thing, and I think you may have answered them. Anthony from St. Joseph Academy, did Kristal answer your question, or do you have something else to add?
Let us know.
So yeah, I'm a little still wondering about if we were to have summer camps, is it the max going to be 12 kids probably, or is that likely to change, or is that going to be about the same?
Honestly, I don't think I can give you an answer yet. I mean, we would like to see summer camps come back with a quantity more than 12 because we know it just doesn't make sense with a quantity of 12. I know some of the Boys and Girls Clubs are beginning to open back up. They are taking students for employees that are considered essential or needing to go back to work. So we're hoping with rolling some of that out that we'll be able to see that the safety protocols in place for organizations such as that are working really well, that that people aren't getting sick. We're not seeing any spikes in cases. And then hopefully use that as an example to be able to roll out some of these summer camps that we're going to need as parents start to go back to work.
Right. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you. Any other questions? We've kind of caught up to all the questions that are in the chat room. This is a great opportunity, everyone, to have Tess and Kristal here representing the city and the county. There's a lot of information out there, and it can be sometimes very confusing about what's essential, what's not essential, what phase am I in, all these things. So please take an opportunity if you have any other additional questions. I have one coming in from Shannon is asking for your contact information. Gwen I think you may have been bumped off, so I'm going to unmute you, because did you have any other questions regarding the signage, or were you on when Tess was talking about that? I'm trying to trying to unmute you. Hang on. I can't unmute you. Sorry. Oh, there you go. There you go. You're live.
Okay, hi. Well, you answered the one question about the signage, so I guess we're just waiting to hear what the allowances will be next week, so what we can offer to our
I should
clients.
have a better answer on Tuesday. And what business are you with? Just so I know, then I can get back to you.
Innovative Sign Systems.
Okay, great.
So, or if we just wanted to know, so that way, especially with having a permit and everything at this time, probably be very complicated.
Yeah, yes. We're trying to figure out what the easiest process would be. So
Okay. That's all I have for now.
in touch. If you want to give me if you want to shoot me an email, I put my email address in the chat. You can shoot me an email so I have your contact info.
Love to. Okay.
Thank you.
Kathleen, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Tess, she said something about 10 rules that the city was going to come out with. Is that going to come out Tuesday also, or do you have something in advance?
Yeah, it's not really going to be rules per se. It's more of
I thought that's what you said.
yeah, it's more of a promise. So it would be like following all the COVID-19 related public health orders and measures from the state and the county and the CDC, and all the other things that businesses are required to do now, like Kristal was mentioning, create and display the County of San Diego Safe Reopening Plan, following the cleaning protocols from the CDC, face coverings, temperature checks, social distancing, hand sanitizers, just all of those types of things. And then once they take that pledge or promise, then we will have kind of a marketing kit for them to roll out so that it helps them as they start to reopen, that they can put on social media and on their website and on their physical door. We have posters that we're printing and like a window decal.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's the chamber too, so you'll be able to access all of that through the chamber.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Kathleen. I have a question from Camille Hastings, and Camille, I'm unmuting. You're unmuted.
Hi. So I own Leading Note Studios. We do music lessons. And are we taking into consideration, as I feel like everybody's saying we're opening, and the guidelines of only 10 people. But I have found with my clients that when we say we're opening, only 5% feel safe enough to leave their house and come in. And so as much as I want to say, hey, I'm open, is the city and the governor and the guidelines, do you guys know that I'm not going to have 100% returning on day one? So I can say that I'm open and I have, 80 clients booked in one day, but only 10 are coming in. I mean, is that part of the guide? I mean, are they taking that into consideration as they're saying, we aren't open and we aren't getting slammed with all our clients at once? Does that make sense?
Yes, and I would say from our perspective here in the conversations that we're having, there's an acknowledgement that while things are opening, people don't necessarily feel safe going out. And we know that that is going to take some time. And what our hope is that we can begin to reopen some of these businesses, That's why we wouldn't advocate to pull some of this funding that we're seeing come down from federal, state, even the county ordered some of our CARES dollars to go to the individual cities to assist them, because we know this recovery process is not going to happen overnight. The customers, several reasons, are not going to be able to come back. They either don't feel safe, they don't have the financial resources, their jobs are in jeopardy and can't pay for their music lessons or whatever the activities are, and that we have to build consumer confidence from a financial and economic standpoint, but also from a safety standpoint. And we're hoping that as these businesses, the ones that really can follow the protocols and safely open, and people can start to feel comfortable with going back out into the community, our numbers that we report out every day from the county as far as how many tests are being issued, how many positives, that those percentages and the hospital stays and all that data that comes out every single day continues to go down and does not spike up. Because what we don't want to happen is, even though we'd like to fully reopen everything, we don't want a spike and we have to pull everything back, because we feel like that would be detrimental to the gains that we're beginning to make. So we're very conscious of there's a perception and a reality out there, and both of them are extremely important.
Okay, thanks Camille and Kristal. Okay, I have a question in queue from another Kristal. Kristal, I'm trying to unmute you. There you go. You are unmuted, so go ahead with your question.
Okay, hi. I was just curious about the proposal that was made to reopen hair salons and nail salons and personal services earlier. I have looked on the Board of Cosmetology's website, and there is absolutely not one piece of guidance for us of what we're going to be held accountable for. And I also, I don't know what the modifications are that are being proposed that I'm supposed to follow. So I'm just curious where I can find that information so that I can be prepared, because if I decide to open up, I don't have the gear that I need. I don't know where to find it. I'm very small in the world of business, and I'm going to need some support. And I don't feel like anywhere they're saying what we're specifically supposed to do to keep everyone safe, including ourselves.
Yes, and that has been our struggle with each of our industry sectors. So we learned in the beginning as we slowly started opening up, and when I say we, I mean collectively the government. So the way it works in the world of county health is there is a county health officer. She, Wilma Wooten, Dr. Wilma Wooten, acts independent of the Board of Supervisors for obvious reasons. We don't want our public health officials to have undue influence from an elected body. So she is an employee of the County of San Diego, but operates independently. She ultimately is the person who passes the public health orders. So far, a majority of her orders have been lock and step with the state of California. Some have been a little bit more strict than what California has issued, and after a while has backed off. So I'm going to use golf courses for examples. Golf courses, the restrictions were eased up on those a couple weeks ago, and the guidelines were issued. Well, then we heard from golf courses that said those guidelines are not practical. We don't know how to implement them. Here are better guidelines. And those new guidelines were implemented. So we are learning. So for restaurants, for an example, the guidelines that are on the website right now and the protocols they have to follow were recommendations from the state of California, the public health officer, but mostly from the California Restaurant Association. They said, look, they looked at it and said, you guys are all crazy. This doesn't make sense. Let's consolidate this information, make it a little easier to understand. So we are looking at industry sectors, associations within those. I know we have heard, our office specifically have heard from associations of cosmetology for plans, but right now we are at the mercy of the public health officer and the governor of the state of California. The only information we are being told, if salons get to open, it'll be at about 25% capacity, but that's also what they said of restaurants. They took back that restriction and said, you just have to practice social distancing, which is a 6-foot distance between other people. So until they roll out the guidelines, we honestly don't know. I would love to be able to share them with you right now. All I'm hearing is 25% capacity with appointment only. We've heard the recommendations. I think we've probably heard from 300 different types of salon owners saying these are the steps I can take. I know it's having customers wear face masks and having the employees wear face masks. If you don't have those available, that's really tough. I would say right now, I would start looking at the guidelines for the other sectors that have been opened and start preparing for some of those same measures. You know, face coverings for your employees. That would be the biggest one, I would say. I mean, hair salons as a whole, nail salons, do a lot to sanitize all of their equipment and their environment that they're working in. I mean, it's a very sanitary location. So I think once you take that into account, and then you're protecting people, so covering their face, obviously advising and posting that customers, please don't come in if you're feeling ill. Employees, please don't come in if you're feeling ill. Going through temperature screenings, maybe leaving a longer period of time in between your appointments so you have time to sanitize your workstation. All of that stuff is being taken into consideration, but ultimately it's up to the public health officer and the state of California.
Thanks, Kristal. I've got a question. Ann was, she missed, her sound went down when we were talking about the summer camp. So I know we talked about this, but Kristal, if you wouldn't mind, she just asked again about the phase and the dates of the summer camps and when they're expected to open.
Right now, we are hoping that summer camps will be included in a limited basis in the next phase of opening, which is called the pilot program or the attestation plan. We are waiting. It is in the hands of the governor right now. It's about a 100-page document. We're hoping that we hear back very quickly on that, but it could be a radio silence, or it could be a no, or there could be modifications. We really don't know at this point. We're all sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for that. Summer camps, if they come back, I would assume are going to be limited capacity, limited enrollment, and need to be kind of a licensed business, credentialed business, not just, as I said earlier, you know, Kristal, Jabara, here's my summer camp, come to my house kind of thing.
Thanks, Kristal.
Can I mention one thing on signage? I got a quick update from our Development Services Director, and it looks like you know, what we're presenting to Council on Tuesday won't require any sort of application as long as you follow the size requirements for the banner signs. So I'm trying to get those size requirements, but I can email them to whoever would like to see them. So it would be a specific sign, banner signs, and that size I'm trying to find for you. So,
you know, that's something too, Tess, if you wanted to, if it was helpful. I mean, if you send it to us and we could get it on our, we've got a COVID-19 resource page with a lot of information, and if there's any information like that that you think may be helpful, we're happy to post it on that page as well.
I probably would wait until after it gets passed by our council. Yeah. Yeah.
Kathleen, I've unmuted your mic.
Yeah, so thank you. So I know that PPE is rather at a premium these days. And so Kristal had asked about, she didn't have any guidelines, she didn't have any equipment or anything like that. I know that the governor has said that they are receiving PPE all the time. Is the county going to have any available for businesses like Kristal's, that if somebody comes to the business and they don't have a mask, she would be able to have a mask to give a customer or something like that? Thanks.
And this has come up a lot. The priority at the county right now is making sure the hospitals, medical professionals have that equipment, the North County Health Services, even smaller organizations that are still seeing patients, that they first have the access to the PPE equipment. At this point, the county is not providing that to individual businesses. That's up to them to get. But the county has also been, in my opinion, moderately lax on what they consider a face covering. So they've acknowledged that maybe not everyone can get a medical grade face mask, and that any kind of face mask is going to give you some sort of protection according to the public health officer. I am not a doctor, so if you disagree with that statement, please share that with her. I am not a doctor. But that can be a bandana, that can be a scarf.
Right.
The ones issued by the county, I laugh because I can see my lipstick through them, so I don't know how much protection that provides. But they're saying any amount of facial covering is adequate to help with the protection, and with the reminder that if you are not feeling well, please stay home, and if you're part of the vulnerable population, please stay home and stay safe.
Thanks, Kristal.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Kristal. Okay, I just had a question from Janet, so let me find Janet. Okay, Janet, you are live.
Thank you. So we received the PPP, and we supposedly have 8 weeks to be able to go through payroll with that. If we don't open for 2 months, is that going to change, do you believe, or it's given up after that 8 weeks?
So I'm going to ask Rick if he has heard anything on that. Those are federal dollars, federal loan program, and if we're not sure about the answer, we can probably get an answer from one of our federal offices. Rick, have you heard anything on that?
I know they were talking about it today, but I haven't seen any results. I know they were talking about, because that has been a big issue of that 8 week window, and getting employees back, or using it 8 weeks starting from the date that you received the funds, but it doesn't always coincide with when you were able to get your employees back, or if you furloughed somebody, or so there was. I know it was supposed to be addressed today. I just haven't. I haven't seen anything. If there is any information that comes out, I'll make sure. Well, there will be something that comes out today. I just haven't seen it yet, and I will make sure we get that on our COVID-19 resource page. But just checking the news tonight, because I think there was a topic of on the agenda today, and they were going to discuss, and that was one of the primary things, Janet, was that 8 week allowance, whether they would extend that or not.
Yeah, and if we could maybe, if Janet wants to reach out to you, maybe offline, and we could put her in touch with maybe like Brian Jones's office, or someone on a federal level that can help her with some of these questions.
Yeah, definitely. I'll follow up with you, Janet. Okay, I have a question from, and it just says A, so I'm not sure who that is. But A, if you could tell us who you are and what your question is.
Yeah, hi. So we have a small company. It's just about 10 to 15 people in the office, and it's all cloud-based. We have no clients actually coming into the office. So I was just wondering what the plan would be for reopening that. I assume it's phase 2. I see the dine-in reopening plans and the retail reopening plans on the link that you sent at the beginning, but I don't see, you mentioned there's a more general one. I don't see that anywhere on this page.
Yes, there is. So you would fall under the safe reopening plan, which is also on that page. I'll try and maybe when I'm done talking, find the link directly to that. You, as an office that is not seeing the general public, would need to follow the safe reopening plan. So the county health officer is advising that anyone that can telework, please continue to telework. If you need to come into the office and are working at the office, you need to practice social distancing. So you need to be, desks need to be 6 feet apart. If you are around other people, that includes employees. So I'll give you, for example, when I come into our building, my office is in the Vista Courthouse. I wear a mask when I walk in. A deputy takes my temperature every time I come and go. And I am required to wear a face mask if I am around other people. There's only 3 of us in our 1,200-foot office, so it's not hard to practice social distancing. But even when we go into the restroom, we're required to have a face mask on our possession in case we are within 6 feet of another person. So your office would have to follow the same protocols, and I'm going to try and find that link directly, but it is just the general safe reopening plan.
Okay.
You will need to post that and make sure all your employees see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks for your question. SCMYS put in the chat room that heard that Congress is supposed to vote next week on the extension of PPP, which could actually could be 12 weeks. So we'll get out the updates as soon as we get those. Any other questions? I don't have anything in queue right now, but if you have a question, raise your hand, I'll find you, or just put something in the chat room. Also, you know, Kristal or Tess, if there's anything that maybe we've had a lot of really good questions, and is there anything that you want to add that maybe we haven't discussed that you wanted to bring up?
I think something that we're getting a lot of questions on, I don't know if there are any breweries on the call today, but from breweries, you know, if they have a bona fide caterer serve food while they're ordering their beer, they can be open, but the rules are a little bit unclear as to what a bona fide meal is. So I'm still trying to figure that out. So if anyone, I'll keep Rick updated for any of your brewery members. But it's unclear on the guidelines on the meal, what categorizes a meal, a bona fide meal.
So beer nuts might not qualify as.
Well, and they gave sandwich and salad as not qualifying either. So then what does that mean? I don't know.
You know, it's funny, and it's just when I grew up in the city of Joliet, and it's 45 miles southwest of Chicago, and a small blue collar city, and they did that with all the bars. They had to start serving food, and everybody ended up buying those toaster ovens, and they were all selling the Tombstone pizzas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and what I have been noticing, because we do have a lot of questions and a lot of the information is very vague and the guidelines sometimes don't make sense, or you don't fit into an exact category that's being represented. What we are typically finding in our answers when we ask questions is if you are following the spirit and the intent of the safety orders and the safe reopening plans, and your customers and employees are following all the safety protocols, there seems to be a little grace for, okay, I'm not a cookie cutter, I don't fit into this specific category, but I'm similar to this one, so I'm going to follow the same guidelines. I mean, originally, some of the requirements that they had for dine-in restaurant were going to require restaurants to have reservations to come in. Well, if I'm going to visit Nancy over at Fresh, they don't take reservations. So I'm not allowed to sit there because they don't take reservations. They took that criteria out and said just practice social distancing. So I think if you're reviewing and you're not 100% clear, if you are following the spirit and the intent of the safe reopening plans, most of the time you are okay. And sometimes it's better that government is giving you less guidance, not more, because we become very restricting when we give too much.
That's the one thing that I've seen through all this is just how many unique businesses there are. I mean, you think you can, I mean, it's impossible to try to come up with 8 to 10 to 12 to, you know, however many categories, because, and through this pandemic too, how it's affected everybody. Everybody's been affected by it, but our businesses are so unique that everybody's been affected in a different way. And I think as we are able to move forward, the business community, everybody's, you know, looking to make that pivot, and just to what you said, Kristal, and being able to adhere to these guidelines in a safe way, you know, you're able to move forward. But it has been very confusing, and I appreciate, you know, you guys spending time today to help answer these questions and help reduce the confusion. And I don't have any other questions in queue. So
could I just say one more thing, Rick? You
yes,
have Councilmember Maria Nunez from the city of San Marcos is on there. I just saw her pop in a question. So if she would like to say hi to your group, she's also a business person in your community and a council member.
I've unmuted your, thanks, Kristal. Maria, I've unmuted your mic. Nope, I didn't. Wait a minute. I'm trying. There you go.
Sorry, Rick. I think I was fighting you with my mute button.
Kristal and I were doing that earlier, I think.
I don't have a question, but thank you so much for affording this platform to our businesses and residents. I think it's so important that we all have information, and I'm really glad I'm able to be here, participate, and listen to the concerns of our residents and our businesses. And I think this is so helpful in continuing the dialogue. I think we have a lot of challenges ahead, but I also know that we are all in the same boat and we all want to obviously succeed. And I'm certainly here and available if I can connect with anybody and help out with the transition in the process. I know as a city we're on board with whatever we need to do to help our businesses, and I know it's true for our council. And thank you, Tess, for sharing the information and what we're working on. Thank you, Kristal, for doing this and sharing what the county is doing. So if anybody needs to get a hold of me, I did include my direct contact information, and I'm happy to assist. And thank you for this opportunity to speak to the group.
Maria, thanks so much for joining us today. And again, just from everything that the city has done to help these small businesses in this time of crisis has been, I've heard from so many chamber members and business owners that I've gotten handwritten cards, and just that how fortunate they are to be doing business in San Marcos, and for for the amount of support that you have. And that goes from the county too. I mean, everything that Kristal, that you and your team and Supervisor Desmond have been doing to help all businesses in San Marcos, it's made a huge difference. And we've been fighting this fight together, and from all the letters and all the pushback from all our business owners to Sacramento has also made a huge difference. So when we all work together to reach a common goal, we're very strong. So with that, if there's nothing else, I just want to thank Tess and Kristal again for speaking, and thank everyone for attending. We're going to keep doing more of these webinars. So our plan is to do a couple every week, and different categories, whether it be government, some type of business, marketing type of things, and health too. We had one last week with regards to dealing with stress and anxiety, because that's a big component of what we're all dealing with right now too. It's everything's focused on this virus and our business, but it takes such a toll on our health and our families as well. So just keep checking out our website. We'll keep putting these up, and if you have any ideas or anything else that you want us to put in a webinar form, we're happy to do it. Just please let us know. So thanks again.
Rick, sorry. One more breaking news. The development services team is very fast. They triple checked, and it looks like, and I'll send this over to you, Rick, so you can share with the group. And it will be, the size will be a maximum of 2 signs, not to exceed a combined total of 60 square feet. So I will send this over to you, Rick, and you can share with your group, and I will send it to Gwen as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.